Last month, we got new Envisaged decos, which I did not do on account of being sick as a dog, but then I got better, yet still didn't do them on account of my other infliction of chronic laziness. But along with Flynn's Banner, which exhausted my Primo Gym count, came a new month, meaning I had to get off my bum and do these because of the excess keys I'd stockpiled from Imaginarium Theater, so here we are. I was originally gonna do Nahida's first, which is why you see it already being finished here, but I got the footage for both of these, and YELAN'S is more difficult, more interesting, and more fun, so we're changing that around a little. As usual, I'll be teaching you how to do this challenge with a 3-star weapon, meaning the Favonius Warbow I usually have on her is gonna be benched for I don't know, let's use the slingshot that I have on Sethos. That seems adequately awful enough, right? By the way, this is literally just to make this guide applicable to everyone regardless of what weapon you have. Please do not use this stupid thing unless you have no other choice because, spoiler alert, this challenge is actually very difficult within the parameters I will be working with and has the potential to be trivialized if you have a better weapon. But more on that later. She's used an Emblem of Severed Fates, which gave me a little PTSD because that's the set that I had on the Shogun going into her challenge, and we all know how that went. C0, as with every non-base roster 5-star I have, with 8, 9, 10 talents. Nothing too crazy here. Speaking of nothing crazy, on paper, this challenge might be the simplest in the game. Easy phase 1, just shoot some targets and kill some mobs, and phase 2 is just a boss with the exact same kind of mechanics that it has in the overworld, although when you actually do the challenge, you'll find things are a bit different here, but anyway, let's briefly run through how you're going to be doing phase 1 before getting to the meat and potatoes main event. A lot of this is pretty self-explanatory. You run from beginning to end, killing things that you see along the way. It's very video game in that sense. Just use your normal run energy until you see some hilly churls ahead, then you could switch over to running with your elemental skill. As long as you tag each of them with it, it's sure to one-shot the whole lot. You'll also encounter some balloons that you're gonna have to pop, and in case you didn't know, when YELAN aims to do a charge shot while her bracelet is glowing like this, the shot will charge instantly and do AoE damage. So all you gotta do is shoot the balloon in the middle. The bracelet recharges passively while outside of combat and also has a chance to recharge whenever you kill an enemy with her elemental skill. So between the downtime that you're gonna have while just running and the hilly churls you're gonna be killing along the way, you should have it every time you need it. Don't even worry about it. The only somewhat tricky part is here at the end. When you're coming up to these last 2 batches of balloons, just make sure to take 1 batch of them out before using your elemental skill on the hilly churls so you can get that bracelet recharge to quickly pop the other ones. Simple, easy, might take you 2 tries absolute max. But as usual, the second half of this challenge is akin to a hydrogen bomb that makes the first half look like a coughing baby. This might just be the highest skill ceiling Envisaged Echo challenge in the game yet. This crap gave me carpal tunnel, and the only reason that I don't have trauma from this like I do from Raiden's is that unlike Raiden's, this one was actually fun to grind attempts on. So let's get to some of those juicy nitty-gritty details. This is the Leeway Fireflower. You know, the one that none of us have fought in years, debatably easiest boss in the game. Yeah, that one. Well, this dude must have had a few training montages off screen because this is not the trivial fight that we all remember. As usual, you'll be on a time limit to kill the boss. It's gonna be 100 seconds this time around. However, just like its overworld counterpart, before you can really start wailing on him, you're gonna have to destroy his weak points, which is more difficult than you'd think. You're gonna have to destroy the weak point on its head first. You can't hit it with your elemental skill, and you're gonna need your elemental burst for later, so you're not realistically gonna be able to use that either. Meaning, you're gonna have to pop it with charge shots. Each time you take out this weak point will require hitting it with 3 hydro-infused shots. Sounds simple, right? Wrong! 2 big problems here. The first is that the time limit won't give you enough time to stop charge shots normally, and the second problem is that even if it did, if the boss gets so much as a single attack on you to interrupt your charging, that will be a time loss you're not going to be able to recover from, and you'll need to simply reset the run. This is where that bracelet I explained during part 1 comes into play, because that thing is gonna be your best friend in this challenge. You're gonna be paying attention to that bracelet like you're in a freaking nonary game. So first and foremost, you're gonna wanna make sure that you start the challenge with both max stamina as well as with a charged bracelet. Secondly, because nothing can ever be simple or easy in Envisaged Echoes, you're not gonna be able to hit the weak point immediately when the challenge starts because the boss just has to get in this flex of an animation first. So this is the first skill check. You're gonna want to time your charge shot to hit the Corolla as soon as the health bar spawns. The timing should be that you want to shoot right before the timer hits the minute and 36-second point, but really this is something you're just gonna have to get a feel for. Now, thirdly, because of how the bracelet mechanics work, you wouldn't be able to recharge it without any mobs to kill once the fight starts. And the devs were kind enough to throw some pyro slimes in the arena to act as bracelet food. This is necessary, don't get me wrong, but you know what that means. When you're trying to charge a charge attack, these little shits are gonna poke you in a mildly inconvenient manner. And for a trained professional like YELAN, this is more than enough to destroy her focus and screw up her charge shot. So when I start this challenge, I run ever so slightly to the left, given that the slimes spawn on the right, so that they don't hit you out of that initial charge shot while you're waiting for the weak point's health bar to become visible. But you can't run too far away, because in order to break the weak point as fast as possible, you're gonna need to recharge your bracelet by killing at least one of the slimes with an elemental skill. The chance of it resetting your bracelet is increased the more mobs you kill with it, but I found that it's easiest to just tag one and hope for the best to get the best time, and just reset if you don't get the bracelet reset. Especially since you're not gonna have to immediately reset the challenge if you have to charge a charge shot normally here. So long as you don't get hit by the boss, you should be fine at least to continue the attempt. So that's gonna be the flow for the first part of the fight. Start the challenge, run slightly to the left, fire a charge shot into its face the frame that the weak point's health bar spawns, quickly kill a slime with your elemental skill to recharge the bracelet, fire another charge shot as fast as you can, and you should have enough time here to charge and shoot a third charge shot normally before the boss can hit you. Just know that if you ever miss any of these shots, just reset the run. This echo is for sharpshooters only. All of you Call of Duty Black Ops 1 high roller wager match champions, this shit for you. So once you pop this weak spot, it will then be time to pop another weak spot. What, you thought you could start damaging the boss now? What are you, crazy? After you pop the first weak spot, a second one will spawn near its roots. But before that, the boss will hit you with a threatening roar, meaning you will not be able to attack until the end of this turn. Wait, no, that's the wrong game. Hold on. What it actually means is that you're gonna get blown back to the edge of the stage like you just got Fusro or something. Then you'll be able to run up and hit the weak point. What I think the developers intended for you to do here is to use your elemental skill to quickly close the distance, but there's two problems with that. The first is that once you pop this weak point, you finally will be able to damage the boss, and you can't really afford to have your elemental skill on cooldown then, because you're gonna need the extra damage you get from it. That's gonna be your best way of inflicting damage on the boss once he finally gets vulnerable. The second problem is that even with the elemental skill, it still takes too long to run all the way over there after getting Fusrodad. Thankfully, there's a very easy workaround. Okay, let me rephrase that. There's a workaround. You can invuln through this threatening roar with the invuln frames of your dash, pushing you back significantly less and avoiding the slow teching animation that you would do to get up off the ground altogether. The timing for this is, however, really difficult, and you're gonna have to do this 3 times each run. Granted, I think that as long as you hit one of them, you should be fine if you do everything else perfectly, but you really don't want to leave any room for error here, so it's probably gonna take you a few attempts to get the timing for this down just right. Anyway, after the roar, you're gonna want to run up to the weak point and use your elemental burst. This will destroy the weak spot instantly and immediately put the boss into his weakened state where you can finally start attacking him. So those are the 3 phases of the fight. Phase 1, use charge shots for the first weak point. Phase 2, he'll and make you pop the second weak point at the roots. And third, you can finally get some damage in. Like I mentioned, with my setup, I had to go through this 3-phase process 3 times to finally kill him. If you have a much better weapon and can shorten it down to just 2 times, then this undoubtedly will trivialize the entire challenge and make none of these strats necessary. But I'm gonna go forward assuming that you will have to do it 3 times, because if you can do it in 2, then you do not need this guide. So you're pounding on the guy with your elemental burst. All he's doing is sitting there and taking it. Finally, an easy part of the fight, right? Wrong! In order to get the DPS you'll need to kill this thing, even with 3 runs, there's a flow to your attack pattern you're gonna have to utilize here. The first few hits of YELAN'S attack string happen much faster than the last 1 or 2 hits. So those are gonna be the ones you're gonna want to abuse, especially if you hate yourself and are using the slingshot like me, because the slingshot buffs your normal attack damage if your arrows have basically no travel time. And guess what? YELAN'S attack string slowly puts her further and further away from the boss the more you spam it, so here's what I recommend. After you ult and destroy the weak point, hit the boss with that initial string of attacks, then cancel it by using your elemental skill, which should do some solid damage. Then, do the first few attacks again, and this time, cancel them by tapping dash before doing it again and again. Rinse and repeat. First few attacks, dash, first few attacks, dash, first few attacks, dash. However, there's a couple other things you're gonna wanna have to keep in mind right about now as well. The first is that you're gonna wanna make sure that you have the elemental energy to use your burst immediately when it comes time to pop the weak point on the roots again. Each time you break that second weak point and can attack the boss's health bar, you should have time for 2 elemental skills if it's not on cooldown when you start. This means that you should be able to get 1 more in after the initial one, and when you hit the boss with this one, it'll really help you to get a slime in there with it. Not only for the energy recharge, but also to charge the bracelet for when it's time to attack the first weak point again. So after you use the first elemental skill, once you begin to dash cancel YELAN'S attack string, slowly work your way around the boss to the front. By the time you can use your elemental skill again, a slime should be practically rubbing against you, making hitting both it and the boss pretty darn easy. It's also worth noting here that the slime staggering you actually works to your advantage here, because they can cancel your attack strings for you, which is faster than using the dash cancel. This isn't necessary to implement, but it will help you save a second or 2. So take advantage of that where you can. Anyway, getting the bracelet recharge from killing a slime with your elemental skill here will also help with the other thing you're going to have to keep in mind, being that when the boss begins to recover from this weak state, there will be a brief, very brief period of time where the Corolla weak point will become hittable again before he slams into the ground and does this spinning attack. As far as I can tell, he'll always do this spinning attack when he covers from his weak state, which makes breaking that first weak point the second and third times much more difficult than the first. So when he's getting up and recovering, you're gonna want to make sure he's not in the attack range for this spinning attack and snipe that weak spot in the small window you have before he does the startup for that attack. This is because your second shot is gonna hit him when he's recovering from the spinning attack, and the third shot is gonna be hitting him when he's starting up whatever attack he's gonna try to do next. If you miss this small initial window, he will be able to get that second attack off, and most of the time that's a fatal time loss, whether he hits you or you instead spend time to dodge it. So once again, if you miss this window, if you miss any of your shots, you're gonna need to just reset. But that covers basically everything you're gonna have to do. The problem is that you have to do this 3-phase sequence multiple times in a row for a perfect run, all without letting the boss hit you a single time or miss a single shot. And most likely you're also gonna have to hit that invuln dash window when he decides to at least 2 of the 3 times. It's an absolute performance-based nightmare, littered with important skill checks, and I gotta say, I loved it. I didn't have to F around with any of her artifacts or stats, no important sequencing between other teammates. I really just felt like I just had to play better. to get a perfect run. It was the Dark Souls get good mentality, but for the first time ever, actually in an enjoyable context. And to me, that's the best kind of challenge. So what you're seeing right now is the successful run I got after trying for about an hour. Like with the Diluc and Raiden challenges, I feel like it might be helpful to just include the unedited full run in the video to help you visualize everything without everything being edited down to focus on each little facet of the challenge individually. As you'll see at the end of the challenge, I had about 5 seconds to spare, so it's not an instant reset if you miss one of the dash invuln windows like I did here, or if you don't get a bracelet enhanced charge shot off your elemental skill or anything like that. As long as you don't miss a shot or waste time dodging or getting hit by one of the boss's attacks, you should have enough time for a couple small mistakes. But yeah, Echo looks great as always, pairs exquisitely with her Fontaine outfit. Can't wait to show it off to all of my friends who haven't been online in 31 days. Surely they'll come back eventually.